Alright, how's it going for you guys? It's going good for me. It's kind of like, pretty decent time of the day. I'm also getting ready to go to work, so I'm going to play uh, stuff and whatnot in the background. I'm muted out, so like you guys won't hear it. If you guys hear anything like that, then I do apologize, but let's get it in. Last time, as you can see, we finished off the pencil areas, and now we're gonna get into the markers, and the markers are really gonna be shining really mark. Now, the thing I like to do is to go light and then go dark. So always test out your marker on the same type of medium that you're using it on, or just anything that you are using to make art. Just test it out first. Make some circles, make some lines. I already know how this is gonna go, but that's just my little test run. I just want need to make sure it dries off a little bit. That's just my example of what's gonna pop off. So I'm gonna start it off with the gorilla and just work its way all the way throughout its body because I want that yellow to be shining. And once again, it may not even look like this at the final piece. I know for a fact it doesn't look anything like this at the final piece. It looks a little bit more epic, if you will, because of the free range of all the unlimited brushes and unlimited paint that we have in the digital realm. Now, as you can see, I'm just, roughing out and just adding little yellows here and there. That's because he's gonna be a fiery little guy. He's gonna just be a fire. Now I'm gonna add a little bit to the hair here, just to make sure that I have outline of where the light is gonna be shining on our little hero right here. So bam, shazam, and kakram. Yes, sir. Okay, so also gonna get that in on that too. Once again, I'm not sure if the editor is gonna make me put in the two, but I'm gonna try to leave the two out. They still haven't gotten the confirmation on that just yet. But bam, I'm gonna add a little bit of yellow for a shine. So anywhere where there should be a little bit of what's what I'm looking for? Shinage. I'm adding yellow first, at least on the left side or his right side, depending on how you want to view things. The reason, the reason being is that we just want that little shine to just kick on through. Just kick on through. And once again, I go light to dark. So, bam. Now, if I was just doing straight up black and white, I would start off with the pencils, and I would not even really shade in the pencils like that. I'll probably shade in just a little bit differently, but then as soon as I add in all the pencils, I'm just gonna automatically come over and just do straight blacks. But since I'm doing it in a limited color, but color nonetheless, I gotta go. I like to do this process of adding the lights first. The can't talk right now. The lights first, farts, lights farts, and then darks second. So lights first, dark second. Okay, I was able to say it that time. I don't know what the fluke was right there. It's like my mega chip just malfunctioned, all that good jazz. So as you can see, I'm just adding a lot of that blue all around that area, and what I'm trying to do is just still leave that white flamage just a little bit. And I colored in that one right there, and don't worry about it. So bam, the reason being because I want that one to be in the far distance, like it's receding from the major flame while everything else isn't. Now, as you can see, when you do the marker, especially on the broad tip side, it's going to drag a little bit of that graphite with it. That's just because I'm applying pressure, right? So if you want to avoid that little skid marks that I did right there, just apply the tiniest amount of pressure that you can. I apologize, I can't talk right now, but I'm still going to do it. I'm just still going to push on through. So first I start off with that with the Sharpie, the yellow Sharpie. Just do a little recap. Start off with the yellow Sharpie. Then I worked my way into the what was it? Prism color. The canary yellow, I believe. Then I grabbed some of that cyan blue, or is it sky blue or light blue? I can't remember. I need to pick up the material again, and I just added in some light details because this here is like a very skyish blue type of color. Now I'm grabbing that Blick Sky blue, and it definitely is not like, it's not a light color. As you can see, it's a lot of ink coming out on that from that marker, and I'm just gonna just work that in there. I'm gonna use that as the shadows. And once again, that's the benefit of testing your materials before you use it. Since I knew it was going to do that beforehand, I decided off the get-go this is going to be how I'm going to shade in the hair and some other features such as maybe the wolf in a little bit just to pop them out from the rest of the pic. So I'm just going to keep going through there and just really adding those shadows. Just really hammer those in. And while that plays in the background, I'm going to bam, put on my pants, bam. Now I am ready for work. Good thing this is not the video ones. So bam, shazam, ka-clam. Now I'm dressed for work. Now I'm looking at work. Life is beautiful right now. So bam, I'm just gonna just color the rest of those in. Color that giant area. And of course, I sped up this video. I believe this process took me like an hour or 30 minutes, an hour and 30 minutes. I dropped it down to, because, dropped it down to 2. That's not dropping it down, that's adding. What I'm trying to say is that I sped it up to be twice as fast. That way it cuts down to half the time. If my math is correct, that should work. And if not, then my math is horrible. So bam, bam, shazam, just gonna add in all these little areas right there. I want to save some areas for the reds, and if I'm not mistaken, a little bit of them blues. Now, I don't remember if I had the reds out on the initial video, but once again, all the materials that I will be having and entertaining you with today will be in the description. So bam, sham, shazam. So once I add that, I'm gonna take that little gray, the cool gray, and I'm just gonna just start mixing that all in there. Now I want to go light because everything around him is gonna be a light. So the reason why I'm going with the cool gray for the light is because the light that we want the picture at the top, the yellows, and even the gorilla spirit and the wolf spirit. I want them all to really be the identifiers of that point. And since they're really light colors, to make it pop, I'm going with a cool gray because it gives off that essence, like those things are popping off some cold stuff or some warm stuff, and I just want that contrast to just really pop out the eye. So bam, as soon as I get that in. And as you can see, I haven't used the pencils just yet. Not the pencils, but the pens just yet, because I want to save that for the very, very last bit. So here I am bringing in 2 new materials. These are some Copic markers, skin tones. I got one for his light skin because he's a light skinned character. He's not super light. He's like in the mid range, like about a 3 or 4 light. So we're definitely gonna just make sure that yeah, and then I got a darker skin tone just to make them pop, and that's going with like about say a 60-70% value, and I got a really nice bright orangey marker. I think it's Sunset Orange from Bic. I like the names that they come up with. It's kind of cute. It's a little fancy. You know what I'm saying? It just tickles some people's fancies, and automatically just adding that in the middle since it's such a brighter, darker color compared to everything else, because that yellow is a bright color, but it's not really dark, or it's not very saturated. It doesn't feel that way. But this orange, the sunset orange is, and it just draws your eye towards it. And the more we add, the better it's going to be to pop out of there. Especially when we add the blacks, because once we add the blacks, your eye is going to be drawn either to the blacks, what's more, your eyes are drawn to what's not really there as much. So if we're looking at a white piece of paper and I make a little black dot in the middle of that white piece of paper, your eye is going to be drawn to that little black dot. Vice versa, if it's a black piece of paper and I draw a little white dot, your eye is going to be drawn to the white dot. So that's the kind of premise that we're going for with this type of piece right here. We're subtracting from some areas, we're adding to some areas. So bam, everybody has their own little techniques about doing this. With this pen, I noticed I wasn't able to get the flame marks as I was doing. I could have switched up my pen technique, but halfway through I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna fix it digitally. Remember, this is still gonna pop off on the digital scale, so I ain't tripping. It is what it is. I'm just gonna just hammer that away as much as I can. So bam, And once again, I'm going to add in all of the light stuff first before I add in the really, really dark stuff. So all the inks from the pen that we will be using. And I'll even bring in a black marker a little bit later, maybe a Sharpie, just to make sure that everything pops. So bam. And once again, if you're going for like a straight up comic book look, or like if you want to just go straight to digital or whatever, once again, you don't have to go through all this process of markering up all the color markers. Not a good jam. You could just straight up pencil it and then black out your major shadows, do etch lines for apologize. Let's see. So, yeah. So pencil it first, then take out something like a black ink or whatever, and then just start marking it up for marking up reasons, and shim shams and flim flams. That's not even words. I don't even know what I'm saying at this point. What I am trying to say is that just there's different methods to each and every way of going about it. This is my personal method for doing like fancy stuff, and since I didn't have that much time, I wasn't able to go super fancy. I could even bust out some of the pen markers that I have, the pen markers. And what's different from the pen markers, because you see like that, those markers that I'm using, they kind of have like a brush tip, right? And that really draws your eye. I mean, it helps you do small brush strokes and then like larger strokes as well. So you could change up your line width depending on the pressure that you really do it, and that's with almost any type of medium that you're using. The more you apply pressure to it, the more stuff usually comes off of it. The less you apply pressure, the less stuff comes off of it, and that's just a general rule for just art in general. But with the pen marker with the pen markers is they have that fine tip just like the microns, and they produce color ink just like that. However, it's in the form of like a small micron pen, or just like a fill tip but less control. Fill tips have that sharp point for more control. It's more of that rounded edge to really emphasize like a line. So I'm still testing them out. I haven't tested all of them out, but yeah. So as you can see here, I'm just adding, I already added the orange to where I want a little bit of shine to kick in through. And then I'm adding if I'm not mistaken, the major skin tone. So not the dark areas, not as super dark areas, just as normal skin tone. Just getting those areas that's popping out, and bam. Bam, bam, shazam. So, bam, gonna mark up some of that. Gonna mark up some of that. And just mark up all of that forearm. Just mark up all of that little bad boy stuff right there. Bam. As you can see, it's starting to look more human, right? He's not just like a white piece of paper. He's looking more human. He has a little skin tone in him. He's looking kind of healthy-ish, not really. It's kind of scrawny kid, but here's what it is. So now for his shadows, I'm marking it in with the darker skin tone. Once again, all the materials will be in that description area where you could just really get that stuff in there. So right now, since these are the darker areas, I apologize. Since we haven't added the blacks yet. These colors all look a lot darker than they're supposed to, because in your eye, all you have to compare it to is the lights that's on the page. So of course these are gonna look like straight up shadows, and don't worry, we're gonna add some real shadows later. But yeah, right now you can see how it just pops as it comes along, and obviously I'm getting that little shadow rim for his shirt, and we're getting that little inside the palm edge as well. So bam. And that cool gray really, really emphasizes that feel of just straight, like, depth perception. So I had that little cool gray first. Now I'm adding the darker gray on top of that, and it just starts to mix in. But make sure it's completely dry, because you don't want your cool grays to start pulling. It's the same kind of technique with watercolors. If you've seen any of the watercolor stuff, Please take a look at that. Check out that channel and all that good jazz. But yeah, so just gonna mark up these areas right here and mark up those areas right there, and then just bam. And don't be afraid to play around with what you have. So it took me a while to like really figure out certain techniques and whatnot, and to call shape certain things. I noticed like during teaching, I'll like notice that that's a U, and I'll say like, okay, so just make this little tiny U right here, and just bam. It's a good way to like emphasize things. So it's a good way to like have your own little vocabulary, but still have some of the general vocabulary for the art community. That way, everybody knows what you're talking about. That's a good rule of thumb. So I'm taking that. I believe this is the 80%. So this is the 80%. It should be the warm, 80% warm, and that's gonna be my heavy shadows. The reason being, I want it warm because I use that cool for the 20%, and that was just to really draw out the coldness of that. But I want the whole entire feel to be like, oh, okay, that's real fire. So I'm using that warm 80% to really hammer in a lot of those shadow areas. So you can see I'm going over some areas of the already blackened skin tone, or I'm just adding in a lot of areas that just would naturally just have shadows, just leaving a lot of spaces open. And you can see it's already popping. Like it is already popping. And bam, I'm just gonna come down here and just gonna fill that out. We're gonna fill that out. I believe we're gonna get a little bit underneath that area right there. We're gonna cover that a little bit in dark shadows. And bam. Bam, bam, shazam. And of course, we gotta get to here. We gotta get to here, especially to here around the gorilla. You kind of wanted to just really emphasize that it's close and it's on fire. So what's good to do that is really sharp, distinguishable details, and the shadows make the shadows like extreme. So that's kind of how the rule of thumb for the glow effect. If you didn't watch the other video on the first part, then yeah, please do. But yeah, so the rule is with light, you want it to be like on extreme. Like if you were to take a flashlight and just turn it upside down and just like, you know what I'm saying, like have it to your face, like the scary storytelling times and whatnot, you're gonna find out like all that light is gonna be dramatically like casting a shadow on everything else. So it gives you that quote unquote spooky feel because it looks unnatural. And that's why, because the edge of our eyebrows, like right where our eyebrows start dipping into our start dipping into the skull and forming that little concaveness that we see in a lot of cartoons and just people in general, like real life. Uh, the reason why we're getting like it, like we have that shade right there, is because the light's on top of us most of the time and it's hitting us from the top. Now when you do that flashlight thing and it pops up, bam, like now the light's right there and it looks a little bit unsettling because light doesn't normally come from the bottom. All right, that's also a good dramatic effect. So bam, I have put in all of my little essences, if you will, and then I'm going to come in with the micron and just really shape up a lot of those things. So with the microns, with the actual pens, the penning process for me is I am just highlighting a lot of the dark areas. So the teeth, like small little details like that, the inside of the mouth, the tongue. Since I wasn't really using red for this, I chose to just stay away from those type of colors. So if I wasn't using that color, I didn't add it in, and I'm taking this gel pen, which really saturates the hell out of everything. And as you can see, it's just applying that dark amount of shade. And the way I found out was at the 99-cent store. I was just there and I passed by the arts and crafts section, and my first thought was like, I can't believe the 99-cent store has an arts and crafts section. And then sure enough, they had these pens, and I was like, you know what, let me try them out. And I busted them out like at the counter, because like the lady asked me for, you know, some information about myself, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna bust this out. And this like came out all gel like, and I was like, yeah. I was like, man, this was like a waste of $1. But then like later on, I started to really play with it, and then bam, it's just like, yo, I love this gel pen. It's like having a really, it's like having a felt tip pen that just constantly leaks black ink, and it sounds so horribly wrong at first, but look at it. It's like once you master how to really move that ink around in that, like, in the limited time that you have, it really pops out a lot of those blacks. So definitely experiment with new materials. If you go outside and you see some things that's like, especially if it's affordable for your budget, definitely, peep that out and just see what it's about, and just make sure that you have all those in there. And as you can see, I do have to wipe off a little bit of it just to make sure that it has this consistency towards it. Well, for the fine details, when I don't want it to be splattered all over the place and dripping black ink, I go back to the microns. But when I do want that, just to get those general big areas in there, I go straight back to that Roller Elite. It's called Roller Elite. I think I need to double check that again. But bam, and as you can see, my camera is moving up. I can't remember what happened right here. Something happened and I wasn't paying attention. I think I probably accidentally knocked it, and now it's on the little bar that it's supposed to be on for when we draw. So we're picking up that little bar right there, and don't worry about that. It's not like the end of the world times or anything like that. It's just a little bit of that bar coming through. Bam. I'm just gonna use a little bit more of this just to get a lot more of these broader areas, and you can see it starts to like really ink out a lot, like worse as time goes by, because I think it's starting to run out of ink. Yeah, these little bad boys, they last a while. I can't honestly say they last a while. I believe that this one lasted a couple more like heavily black pictures. Uh, they survived like 3 or 4 battles, and they came out on top. The fifth, I think like the fifth or sixth battle, it started to like to lose its opacity and just start to dwindle down and run out of ink. It's good stuff like that. I don't know why, but like for some reason I'm not good with words right now. But that's okay. It's all groovy. Just trying to keep it clean. Keep it clean like some sneezy cheens. Alright, bam. And that didn't even make sense. I don't even care. Shoot, I acknowledge it. And I move on with my life. Alright, so bam, just gonna get a little bit more of these black areas in here, here, and here. And I just want to add anywhere that should be dramatic shadows, just for emphasis on what we are doing and whatnot. So bam bam shazam, bam bam shazam shazam. Oh man, I love Fall Out Boy, like especially their old stuff. I haven't heard none of their new stuff lately. I need to go check them. Maybe peep them up on Spotify or something like that. Go to the YouTubes and whatnot with the kids, and something for the kids. Now, right here I'm gonna add in a lot of this like blackness towards the hand, and it blends in decently, but I do gotta do it in some type of layering process, like really go in there and just really coat that little bad boy right there. All right, the little time skip right there for some reason. I don't know what that was about. Let me try to fix that. All right, let me pause that. Man, all right, we did a little time skip. I don't know what that was about. All right, so bam. For some reason, the music kicked back on in the background. That's cool. We could just do the music in the background. All right, so bam bam shazam. All right, so I'm gonna finish up top right here. Add a little bit of gray. No, not gray. Blackness. Did I do it for the shirt already? I think I did it for the shirt, but I'm positive. I'm gonna touch up the shirt just a little bit, and underneath the shirt, just a tad, and definitely fix up some of the thumbs, the thumbage, and whatnot. So it is coming to a very close end on. I am wrapping up based off of the flow that I'm giving off and how I remember how I did this. I did this like a while ago. It's just I had to wait until the editor approved it, and they still haven't. So I waited like 4 or 5 days, until the editor like approved it, and I was just like, you know what, I already did the work, I might as well just put this video out. So the cover might not even look anything like this, to be honest, and if it does look anything like this, then hurrah, you saw it in the making. But if the editor just says like, we don't like your idea, then it's just gonna be like, all right, fine, you guys just get another video. That's all it is. You guys get more than one video. That's works in your favor. So bam, if my editor tells me to do it again, fuck that douche, but you know, you guys get the rewards for it. And I love this job. I'm not gonna lie. I love painting. I love drawing. I love drawing more than anything. I love creating characters. I love telling stories. It's all in the process, and it's a beautiful process. Now, I was unsatisfied with how the wolf came out, and this is where I start to make a little bit of mistakes here and there, because I got started getting anxious and just like, okay, I just want to get to the digital part so I can just fix up some of the mistakes that I'm starting to see already. So just like, all right, spat through it, and sometimes you're crunched for time and whatnot. So do the best you can with the time that you have. Definitely stay calm throughout the whole entire process. Never like panic draw. If you panic draw, I know some people can do that. Like I've done it a couple of times, and it like sometimes it comes out good. It's like a gamble when you do a panic draw. At least for me, that's how I don't operate. But when you're in your zone and you got your little, okay, I know I could do this, I could do that. I have this much time, all this good stuff like that. So, bam. It's always good to just know what you got. Alright. So, bam. Just to cover up a lot more of that area and just to emphasize it, just gonna add a little bit of that ink right there. It's from the Roller Elite. Just bam. You can see, just really swift, really loose little motions. All right, and bam, touching up the shirt like I said I would, and just getting that little fizz in, and all I'm doing is just going underneath and just finishing off that shirt. So I'm gonna show it all in the picture. Once again, I didn't realize that it did this until like way later and whatnot. So bam. Okay, I think this is when I realized. All right, and I fixed the camera. So, bam, you get to see it, and then it's gonna just start drooping again, cause I know it kept fighting me. Yep, there you go. See, you see it traveling. See it traveling. See it traveling. Look at that traveler right there. Look at that traveler, traveling, and whatnot. So, bam, add a little bit of details right here and there with the inks. And another general rule is if you want it to be light, just leave it light. If you want it to be darker, just make it darker. So, like as the light hits his hand, I just left that whole entire hand. I didn't ink that hand area because we already got the marker on there as a good signification that that's a finger. And at this point, people like would definitely recognize with all the blacks and all the colors around it that it's a finger. So I just left that top part just unfinished on purpose. That way, it just gives off like, oh, it's shining and it's blurring out some of that those dark lines, and that's what light does. Light overpowers in the area. So as long the more you get towards the source of it, the more overpowering it becomes. The less you get from it, the less overpowering it becomes. So a good way to indicate heavy lights or softer lights in the area is if I wanted to make it look like his whole entire hand is like super shiny, I would just leave all of that white. But since I wanted just a little indication like, oh, some of that light is like coming over his fingers, and there the camera goes again. I tried. I think I'll give up in a couple of seconds, but bam. So what you're trying to do is just get the underside of that area that's getting that light and just make it dark, and it really pops out the imagery. And bam. Okay. Curve it. Curve it. Curve it. And then curve it. Man. Bam. 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 Just add little wrinkles into the shirt. That's all you gotta do. And I think that's about it. Now, I do notice that... Oh, okay, wait, my bad. I forgot the collarbone. I didn't even realize I didn't touch up the collarbone at all. Just give him a little bit of neck right there. Alright, bam. Shazam. And that's pretty much it for the physical form, and that's the final piece right there. Then we're gonna drop this little bad boy into Manga Studio. and we're gonna just really go to town on it. So if you haven't already, click subscribe, all that good jazz. If you're new to Patreon, or if you're a Patreon, you know what I'm saying, you get these little goodies. If not, then click on that little Patreon button, see what else I got, see some of the comic book itself, entertain yourself if you will. If you want to see me live in action, if you're in the Las Vegas area, send an email to this location, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Peace out.